benefits that came out of this nutrition challenge for me were plentiful. One was the ability to hold me accountable. When we eat food, we can get in this game of guesswork, unknown territory. Am I eating enough? Am I eating too much? Having it plugged in and having set numbers and targets to hit held me accountable, and I liked that each day, knowing where I was shooting for. So that was number one. Number two is I did a lot more research on foods throughout this challenge, so I was able to incorporate foods that I wasn't incorporating before the challenge. And I have a list here of some things that I added in: butternut squash, lamb, scallops, deli turkey, tuna, rice cakes, and healthy condiments, all things that were new into my regular intake that added something fun and a little bit of variety to my nutrition. I gained valuable insight into knowing what is what, because the goal of tracking is to not track forever, but to have better awareness and mindfulness of what does this equal in terms of fat, protein, carbs, XYZ. So I have a much better understanding of this is a fat and a protein. This is specifically a protein, a carb, or a fat, or any combination of the sort. But my biggest win came with what I mentioned before. One of my problems was sleep. So having these specific numbers, I would find myself eating all of my calories and hitting my numbers by around 8 o'clock. So naturally, about 9:30, I was tired. I didn't need to eat anymore or desire to eat anymore, and I was going to bed earlier. So going to bed earlier had me wake up earlier. So I found myself slowly but surely waking up at 5:30, 5, and now probably the past 3 weeks waking up at 4:30 in the morning every day, giving me 2 more hours of productivity where I can work on myself, get into a creative workflow. So I've gained that from that, where it helped eliminate the sleep problem and has gained me that valuable time in the morning.
So the things that I gained from this challenge, so I talked about before with the challenges that I experienced before this, being like the inconsistency. I've been a lot more consistent with what I've been taking in. I'm a very simple eater. I can eat the same thing over and over again, so I became consistent with, okay, I'm gonna eat the same things every day, being prepared for that, and like consistently hitting numbers. The second thing was my performance. Like I've always felt that like I have stretches where like I perform really well, I'm happy with how I'm doing in the gym, and then I have stretches where I'm like, this isn't going so well, and usually that's tied to like sleep and food more than anything else. So I felt more consistent than ever across the last 4 or 5 weeks. From there, I would say probably outside of those big two would probably just be the lack of under eating. What I found was, I've actually probably eaten more in the last 4 weeks consistently than I ever had before, and my goal was to maintain, and actually through like hitting protein numbers and hitting all my macros that I needed to, I lost about 3 pounds of body fat, which was unintended, but because I had supported my body through sufficient macros, I was able just to burn off what I didn't need, which happened to be body fat, and not taking into muscle tissue, which will happen if you're under eating and not getting the macros that you need.
One of the benefits of the last 30 days is, I think these guys have mentioned it, is accountability. Without accountability, I could totally just like go off the rails, where I'm just not holding myself accountable to anything, like having 3 meals a day or being consistent. So that was one of the things, was knowing my numbers, starting by learning a little bit more. It was like plugging them in a little bit earlier, so I had this like scheduled way of eating and knowing what I was eating. And then also, I always used to tell this story to myself that I needed variety. I couldn't eat the same thing over and over again. But what was so great about this is that I started to become so consistent, where I actually really enjoy eating the same thing every day. So I know what my breakfast is, I know what my lunch is, and I look forward to it. And I've obviously just learned that consistency is totally key in that. And then the last thing was just the same thing with with performance. Performance was never a high priority to me, but as the nutrition is supporting it, it's really exciting to me to see numbers go up in strength, to be able to push myself a little bit, allowing my body to like kind of go through that threshold. So those are the 3 big benefits that I pulled away from the 30 days.
So some benefits that I experienced from doing this nutrition challenge was, 1, my performance in the gym. by actually getting in the amount of macros, proteins, carbs, and fats that are going to help me get towards my goal through bulking. I found that in certain things like our back squats, I felt really strong compared to where I had in the past. A second really great benefit of this was getting a better understanding about, what certain kinds of foods have in terms of how much calories they have, how much carbs are within, 100 grams of rice. That way that eventually when we stop using the app MyFitnessPal and we have a better idea of what foods contain the macros, it'll be easier to kind of ballpark these ideas or these certain foods to get in the amount of macros that are for our goals.
Okay, guys, we're gonna go over our metrics over the past 28 days. So my goal was to gain weight, gain muscle, and my body fat mass went down 0.5 pound. My total weight went up 2.5 pounds. My skeletal muscle went up 1 pound, and my body fat percentage decreased by 0.3%.
I don't have my paper because it's kind of astonishing that after a month of all those changes, every single one of my metrics were exactly the same, except I gained 0.1 pounds in water weight.
So my goal was to maintain, and over the course of the 28 days, I ended up gaining. I gained almost 1 pound between dry lean mass and skeletal muscle mass in water, but I lost almost 4 pounds in body fat mass.
And my goal was to lose body fat. I stayed the same with water and dry lean, but I lost 2 pounds of body fat, which I'm really excited about, and a total of 2 pounds off my total weight.
Awesome. So how we all feel about our particular results, I think the big takeaway for all of us is it's a long game and not getting caught up in the short-term results of a 30-day challenge. I'm very pleased with the results here, how I feel, but more importantly, the behavioral stuff. The mirror stuff is great. I feel good in my body. I can see myself regaining the weight, and I'm happy with how I look. But the sleep thing is probably my biggest win, and knowing how disciplined I was and the good stuff that's come out of it. So it's a huge win for me.
Cool. Not actually getting any results or changes really proves the fact that this is a learning experience. When we plugged in my numbers to get how much calories I was supposed to eat in a day, maybe we went a little too conservative on how active we are. All of us. We're all in here exercising 5 days a week. We're constantly walking around. It's part of the job. And the fact that nothing changed just means that I need to increase my intake a little bit, be in a little bit more of a surplus, and that way I can bulk up, add a little bit more muscle mass on.
Yeah, so my goal was just to maintain, as I was going into a longer stretch of competitions. I did a lot of fitness over the last 4 weeks, and what I found was that probably contributed to some of my fat loss, but I was able to maintain my skeletal muscle, my dry lean mass, my water weight through supplementing enough. I think what I would find is, if I did this for another 4 weeks, which I'm going to do, it would probably level out a little bit more because my activity level wouldn't be as high, but it just goes to show hey, through making sure you're eating enough, we can hold on to skeletal muscle and all the things we want, and shed a little bit of body fat the right way as we go.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the 2 pounds of body fat mass loss. A lot of the times, I think in our experience is that we're looking for instant gratification. We're looking for 5+ pounds loss in 30 days. But just about 0.5 pound a week is that healthy way of losing, and it's just going to keep on tracking in that, because this is, just like these guys said, a long game. I'm not going to just stop after 30 days because it's only 2 pounds. I'm going to really celebrate the 2 pounds loss. And then also a big goal of mine is to keep skeletal muscle mass. So I'm really excited that stayed the same. And probably if I was keeping the habits that I had previously, it would have tapped into the muscle a little bit. So I'm really happy with that.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so if this is, sparks your interest in any way where you guys want to change body composition, learn a little bit more about nutrition, or maybe even just have a way of tracking because we can't manage what we don't measure, having a better relationship with food, all 4 of us are here to help. We have our law program, Lifestyle Accountability and Wellness, and so if you're interested, reach out to one of us. We'd love to help you guys out.